When you think of history's greatest military geniuses, one name stands above the rest: Alexander the Great. In his short life, Alexander conquered more of the known world than any other leader before him. But behind the glory of his conquests lies a tragic mystery: the untimely and unexplained death that brought an end to his empire and left historians puzzled for centuries. This is the story of Alexander the Great, his meteoric rise, his relentless ambition, and the enigma surrounding his death. Born in 356 BCE in the Kingdom of Macedonia, Alexander was destined for greatness from the very beginning. His father, King Philip II, was a powerful ruler and military strategist in his own right, but it was his mother, Olympias, who told young Alexander he was no ordinary child. She claimed he was a descendant of Achilles, the Greek hero of the Trojan War, and this belief in his divine lineage fueled his ambition throughout his life. Educated by the great philosopher Aristotle, Alexander was exposed to ideas of philosophy, science, and politics. But it wasn't just his mind that was being shaped for greatness. His military training began early as well. At just 12 years old, he tamed the wild horse Bucephalus, a feat no one else could accomplish. This bond would carry him through countless battles, with Bucephalus becoming a symbol of his unstoppable force. At the age of 20, Alexander's life would change forever. His father, King Philip, was assassinated under mysterious circumstances. While many suspect political motives, some theories suggest Olympias herself may have been involved to secure her son's ascension to the throne. Regardless of the truth, Alexander inherited the throne of Macedonia. Many would have faltered under the weight of such a heavy crown, but not Alexander. He took command of his father's army and set his sights on an audacious goal: the conquest of the Persian Empire, the largest empire in the world. Alexander's military campaigns are the stuff of legend. His first major victory came at the Battle of Granicus in 334 BCE, where his forces decisively defeated the Persian army. This victory opened the floodgates for more. In the years that followed, Alexander would go on to defeat the Persian emperor Darius III at the battles of Issus and Gaugamela, forever solidifying his place in history as a military genius. With each victory, Alexander's empire grew larger, stretching from Greece to Egypt, from Persia to the edges of India. He founded over 20 cities, many of which bore his name, the most famous being Alexandria in Egypt, which became a center of learning and culture. In Egypt, he was even declared a pharaoh, reinforcing his belief in his divine right to rule. But Alexander was not content with mere conquest. He sought to unite the cultures of the East and West, marrying a Persian princess and encouraging his men to take wives from the lands they conquered. His vision of a unified world under his rule was revolutionary, though not without its challenges. Many of his soldiers resisted these marriages and felt alienated by Alexander's blending of cultures. Some even feared that he was becoming too much like the Persian rulers he had overthrown. In fact, his men were not the only ones wary of his ambition. Alexander's growing obsession with his divine status led to tensions within his inner circle. At times, he demanded to be worshipped as a god, which deeply unsettled his Greek companions, who believed no mortal should receive such honors. Despite his unmatched success on the battlefield, not all was well within Alexander's empire. His relentless push for conquest took a toll on his men, many of whom had been campaigning for over a decade. In 326 BCE, after a brutal campaign in India, his soldiers finally rebelled at the Hippasus River. Exhausted and longing for home, they refused to march any further, forcing Alexander to turn back. This was a bitter pill for the young conqueror to swallow. For the first time in his life, Alexander had to accept defeat, not by an enemy, but by his own men. Still, he maintained control of his vast empire, though cracks were beginning to show. Morale was low, and his closest generals began to question the sustainability of Alexander's vision of an ever-expanding empire. One of the most mysterious events in Alexander's later years was the sudden and unexplained death of his close companion, Hephaestion. Hephaestion was not only Alexander's most trusted general, but also his lifelong friend. Some even suggest they may have been lovers. Hephaestion's death devastated Alexander, plunging him into a deep depression. He ordered elaborate funeral rites and declared Hephaestion a divine hero. But his grief also led to a growing instability in his leadership. In 323 BCE, just a year after returning from his campaigns in India, Alexander the Great fell ill in the ancient city of Babylon. His condition deteriorated rapidly, and within days the mighty conqueror was dead. He was just 32 years old. But how did this seemingly unstoppable force meet such an abrupt end? The cause of Alexander's death has been the subject of speculation for centuries. Was it natural causes or something more sinister? Some historians believe Alexander died of malaria or typhoid fever, common diseases in the ancient world. Others suggest he may have been poisoned by one of his own generals, or even his close companions, who feared what would come next as Alexander's ambition continued to grow. There's even a theory that Alexander's body was so strong that his illness left him in a state of paralysis, leading to his burial while he was still alive. Recent studies and theories have offered even more intriguing possibilities. Some believe that Alexander may have suffered from a neurological condition, such as Guillain-Barré syndrome, which could explain his progressive paralysis. Others have pointed to the unusual symptoms he displayed before his death, including fever and delirium, as signs of an acute bacterial infection. To this day, we may never know the truth. What we do know is that with his death, Alexander's empire quickly crumbled. His generals, known as the Diadochi, fought bitterly for control, and within a few decades, the empire he built was fractured into smaller kingdoms. These divisions would pave the way for the rise of new powers, such as Rome, and the eventual decline of the Hellenistic world. Despite the tragedy of his death and the collapse of his empire, Alexander's legacy endures. He spread Greek culture and ideas throughout the known world, creating a blend of Eastern and Western cultures that influenced generations to come. His vision of a unified world, though never fully realized, laid the groundwork for future empires. One of the most fascinating aspects of Alexander's legacy is the sheer extent of his influence on subsequent history. The cities he founded, particularly Alexandria and Egypt, became centers of learning and cultural exchange. His campaigns spread Greek language, art, and philosophy across vast regions, a period we now call the Hellenistic era. Moreover, Alexander's military tactics are still studied today. His innovative use of the phalanx formation, combined with cavalry and adaptable strategies, set the standard for military leadership in the centuries that followed. Generals from Julius Caesar to Napoleon Bonaparte have cited Alexander as their greatest inspiration. Today, Alexander the Great is remembered as one of the most influential figures in history, a man whose ambition knew no bounds, whose genius reshaped the ancient world, and whose mysterious death left behind questions that remain unanswered. Alexander's rise was meteoric, his conquests unmatched, but his fall remains one of history's great enigmas. Was his death the result of illness, treachery, or perhaps something even stranger? One thing is certain: Alexander the Great, the conqueror of worlds, left behind a legacy that will never be forgotten. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the life and mysterious death of Alexander the Great. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more stories of history's most fascinating figures and events. Leave a comment below with your thoughts on Alexander's death. What do you think really happened?